Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the final round of Down Under 40k Major. And I must admit, I'm sensing a bit of collusion with the TO here, because we've got an Ethos Grapple Factory final between Erik Lathouras and Christopher Wright. So he was going to be playing back-to-back screen games. Erik is up now. If you're following King Damok, I think it's King Damocles. There we go. And yeah, what we're going to see is Erik's GSC. Erik's famous for his GSC. Kind of pioneered this style of list, and it's taken itself all over the joint. So I'm really excited to see it. Unfortunately, Erik has requested not to be mic'd up. By his own admission, he has a bit of a potty mouth, so I'm going to be taking on a fair bit of it. But Chris is going to be talking through every now and then, so we'll always get him involved. Let's go straight into the game, as I've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. And we're all set up with secondaries and everything, really prepared to get into this amazing game. Alright, so kicking things off, we are playing Tear Down Their Icons, just so that everybody is aware. This is what Tear Down Their Icons looks like. It is diagonal deployments, 5 objectives in the center of the battlefield, 3 of them, and one in each quarter of the board. The mission for this is quite appropriate for the GSC. It is prime explosives. So if you do an action in your opponent's half of the board, it completes at the end of the turn if it's OBSEC, and otherwise you have to roll off on a 4+. You will prime an explosive, which is there. Your opponent can defuse it in the exact same manner with an action. However, at the start of the at the end of the game, each explosive that's still on your opponent's side of the table, you get 4 primary points for. So we might not see it from Chris, but it's definitely something Erik could pull off if he needs more primary coming to later stages of the game. That's the mission. And what I'll do quickly, obviously we just saw Chris's list. I'll give a loose rundown of it momentarily. But first I'm going to run through Erik's list and then start talking about the secondaries. So Erik is running Genestealer Cults. He is tearing down with a Rusted Claw Arks of Omen detachment, the unit compulsory type as troops. So first things first, we've got a Magus. Her powers are Inescapable Decay, which is the Rusted Claw special. I believe it gives an additional AP when firing on an enemy unit. He's got Psionic Blast, Psychic Stimulus, and a Psychic Familiar. He's got a Patriarch, who is the Warlord, because Patriarch always has to be a Warlord if he's in your GSC army. Power Inescapable Decay as well, Mental Onslaught, which is, I believe, a Mortal Wound power. I will get back to you on that. Psionic Blast, Psychic Familiar, Relic, the Nomad's Mantle, I will double check for you. And Warlord trait, Entropic Touch. So I'm going to have to pull out my GSC Codex really quickly and have a quick look at a couple of these relics. We have a Primus, who is a Lieutenant. He hands out Lieutenant rerolls, which is pretty cool. What you'll probably see with this, as we'll get into later, is he will hand them out for a Nexus, I believe, which is just allowing him to hand them anywhere on the board he wants. We have 1, 2, 3 squads of Acolyte Hybrids, all with just auto pistols and knives. And they're probably just going to be for doing objectives. One of them has a Lash Whip, which is pretty cool in one of the squads. And also, one of the squads has a Hand Flamer, which is quite cool. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm not quite sure what they're going to be doing based on Erik's secondaries. Probably just using them to get exposed. Boy, we're in for an absolute lesson on GSC, so I hope everyone's ready. Then we've got a squad of 20 Neophyte Hybrids, 4 Webbers, 10 shotguns, 4 seismic cannons, a cult icon, and a leader with a shotgun. And we've got 2 squads of them, exact same. And then we've got another squad with 4 flamers and 15 auto pistol and shotguns, sorry. And then another neophyte leader with shotgun. So just shotgun flamer for the 3rd squad of Neos. We've got a Kellamorph, big old pistol boy. 3 shots with a pistol. He doesn't have the... Thank you for following. Fine, I guess. Doesn't have Wormtooth rounds, so he's just there with his regular 3-shot pistols. Nexus, Cranial Inlay, that's what lets him hand out Nexus lets him hand out buffs from a particular character, cranial inlays, or regaining CP. 8 pure strain Genestealers. Reductus Saboteur, which is an anti-vehicle character. She fires explosives across the board, representing that she set up explosives and is detonating them at that moment. She also is a really good way of getting crossfire tokens, which we'll talk about later. And then the Sanctus as well, exact same thing. Sanctus, whenever he shoots something, auto hits and hands out a crossfire token, which is a really important mechanic for GSC to get that shooting line. So that's just something to keep in mind. Then he's got 2 little squads of Atlan Jackals, 2 3-man units of Atlans. Oh no, sorry, I apologize. They're larger units. They are 4 Atlans, 2 with demos, no 5-man squads, 2 5-mans. GSC lists can be very hard to read just because there's a lot of various bits and pieces to them. 3 Goliath rock grinders with heavy seismic cannons and caches of demolition charges, and 2 Goliath trucks. One of them has proficient planing from every angle. So I believe that's going to let him do something. I just can't remember what it is, but I will double check that and get back to you. All right, and the Saboteur has a relic as well, Oppressor's Pain. That was a lot of words. Basically, Erik is running GSC, which most people normally think is a combat list. He runs it as a gun line and area denial list. So that's why I'm really excited for everyone to see this on screen. I'll give a quick run through Chris's list again in case anyone wasn't here for the last game, is just tuning in for the finals. Chris's list is a captain on bike with a Combi Melter, Thunderhammer, and the Armor of Russ. He's also got Warrior of Legend as a stratagem to get Rights of War. So Obsec Aura within 6 inches for all core units. He's got a Primaris Chaplain on bike. There's a Wise Orator. He's got +2 to charge as one of his Tentacles and Piling Consolidate 6 inches. And reroll all hits in the combat phase for his other one. And he's Master of Sanctity, so he'll do his litanies on 2s. 2 units of Infiltrators with Helix gauntlets. A unit of 4 aggressors. A unit of 5 aggressors, sorry, and a unit of 4 aggressors. A Judicar for Fight Last Aura, and can help with scoring some of the secondaries. 3 Scout Squads. Each one has a Combi Melter, a Thunderhammer, Melter Gun, Plasma Pistol, and a Bolt Gun. So, a bit of a mouthful there, but that's how they work. All have Camo Cloaks as well, which is cool. A unit of Wolf Guard with jump packs, just Combi Melter Power Sword on all of them, except the Sergeant has a Lightning Claw and a Combi Melter. That is a 5-man squad. Then 3 units of Sky Claws. Each one has 3 Melter Guns. Sergeant has a Power Fist, and their Sky Claw leader, their second Sergeant basically, has a Thunderhammer and a Storm Shield. There's 3 squads of them, and then 3 squads of Longfangs with 4 Grav Cannons, a Sergeant with a Melter Gun and a Power Fist, and a Wolfguard Terminator Pack Leader with a Cyclone Missile Launcher, Storm Shield, and Thunderhammer. 3 squads, they all have Cherubs as well, so they can fire one of their guns again after they're shot once per game. And 2 Landspeeder Storms that are land speeders that transport scouts. So, moving into the mission, and then I will probably give everyone a bit of a reminder on GSC, is we look like we're getting into deployment. So I'll try and get all this done before the players roll off so we can see who goes first and start talking about it. But we'll go through the secondaries really quickly. Chris has taken Raise Banners, Shock Tactics, and Oaths of Moment. And Erik has taken No Prisoners, Ambush, which is a GSC secondary, and Brutestorm, which is another GSC secondary. So I'll talk about them in a sec. We'll start with Raise Banners. Obviously, do an action on an objective. At the end of your turn, you plant a banner. At the start of each of your command phases, for each banner you've got on objectives, you get a point. And at the end of the game, you get a point for every banner you've got up. Shock Tactics. If you take an objective off your opponent at the end of your turn, you get 4 points. You get 4 points for playing the game known as Warhammer 40,000 in my mind. And Oaths of Omen, you get 1 point at the end of the battle round if you didn't fall back or fail a morale test. You get 1 point if you killed a monster or a vehicle or character unit. And then 2 points if you've got a unit standing wholly within 6 inches of the center of the battle round. Better if he's going second. Also pretty good if he's going first if he knows what he's doing. Which, last I checked, Chris Wright does indeed know what he's doing. Erik, on the other hand, has taken no prisoners, so for every non-character, non-vehicle wound he kills at the end of the game, you get points. For every 10, he gets a point. Good way of just tracking up points for killing Chris's army. Really nice passive scoring. Ambush is 3 components. He gets points for when he comes in from Deep Strike Reserve and kills something. He gets points if he kills something with Crossfire token. He gets points if he kills something that was exposed with a token explicitly. And Brood Swarm is another really fun one. He gets basically 3 points at the end of his turn if he has more models across each of his opponent's deployment zone, the middle of the board, and his own deployment zone. So it'll be 2 points potentially on turn 1, but it'll start racking up as you start to see GSC all through the lines. So really great passive scoring. It's what's helped Erik the entire tournament actually get up in the standings all the time. And that's why you're seeing hundreds. This is a really good army at scoring exactly this suite of secondaries. So I'm really keen to see him go at it. And yeah, I'm keen to see how both of them play. Chris did mention beforehand that he didn't really want to play specifically Erik round 6 because one of the big things about Erik's list is he's very good at dropping down and shooting, especially in Space Marines. And 2 of the objectives are completely out. So that is a bit concerning. It looks like we just had a first turn roll off and the players are just about to shake into it. So I will just double check.
Yeah.
Alright, I can't get an indication immediately of who's gone first. They seem to both just be talking about a bit of strategy, which tends to happen when they're both on the same team, funnily enough. So what we are probably going to see is a game that I imagine has played out before, but I'm really curious to see it all. While we're doing that, I'll talk loosely through a couple of the GSC mechanics that you might see throughout the game. The first one, if I hand over to my comfortable green screen, is exposed. What we'll do for the sake of this example is pull this little red box up in the corner, a unit of Chris's. Exposed, well, we'll start with the first one, which is it's exposed. Alright, it's exposed and Crossfire. There we go. Sorry, it's been a while since I played GSC. So Crossfire happens when you hit a unit with a heavy weapon, or if you hit them with 5 shots of anything. That counts for things like flamers as well, so that can be a cute way of getting Crossfire. They get a Crossfire token. What that means is that every other unit hitting them gets +1 to hit. The Sanctus can dish that out. The Reductus is a really good way of doing it. Her grenade weapon is heavy and long range. So they're both really good ways of kicking off Crossfire. The Kelmorph's another one. So expect the characters to be handing that out a fair bit. Then exposed happens if we're still following. If a unit of Erik's in purple is behind the unit being shot at. So if you can draw a line of sight through the unit to another Genestealer Cult unit, they are counted as exposed, which gives +1. So expect Erik to be setting up this Crossfire exposed when he begins to bring down units. This is the way that he's going to maximize the amount of output those neophytes come down with. Because they don't seem particularly scary. Dropping down with shotguns, it's something like 32 shots hitting on 4s at strength 4. But that can, at no rend, that can very rapidly be boosted up. They can become hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, wounding on 4, strength 4 with +1 to wound, rerolling 1s at -1 rend. Then the squads all have seismic cannons as well, which are equally as dangerous. They're either 3 shots, strength 6, neg 3, 2 damage, or they're 6 shots, strength 4, neg 2, 1 damage from memory. You can spend a CP to make them +1 damage in a unit. I think it's 2 CP for the larger units, so I'll double check that in a moment. And again, same thing, strength 6 +1 to wound, -4, 3 damage. He can create these absolute gunboat units getting exposed with those little 5-minute acolytes. So Chris is going to have to be really careful with his screening. One of the other things you'll find in Erik's list is that Erik, being a relatively good Genestealer Cult player, is running Lying in Wait on one of his neophyte squads. Lying in Wait allows him to come in within just outside of 3 inches of enemy models instead of the usual 8 for Genestealer Cult. However, he can't charge after he does that, which isn't a major problem. But expect that to be used as both a massive screening tool and a way to potentially get exposed and brute swarm later in the game. So it appears that Chris has gone first. So I might cut to his audio for a bit. If anyone has any questions in the chat, I know I did just go on an absolute ramble about Genestealer Cult mechanics. It's going to be really interesting. All right, so I'm going to cut over to Chris while he's moving around just to get a bit of audio in, see what he's thinking, see if there's any discussion between them, and I will cut to them.
I threw my whole tray off and broke 3 models last round with the cord from this thing. Alright, so we're going to get a land speeder over here. We're going to advance the Skyclaws in there. 5, 17, yeah, so they'll all just go on top level. Do I want to go on top level or do I want to go down a bit? I'll go down a bit. Yeah, so I had to go first and there's open objectives, so it's a tough matchup. I wanted to play lawn bowls, but do you know that I have a strat to deny a power? So if you're within 12 of one of my units, I can try and deny it. It's like a 2d6, but you know, yeah. Yeah, so you can see, you know. Oh, he needs a base. So they'll pop over there. Yep. I just have to do something. I just can't not. Let's advance the chapter master. So I've got fight last and lots of heroics and lots of stuff. So you can go 21 with an advance, so it's 5 and a bit, another 16, yeah, so he'll end up junk. I will, so am I pushing up or am I not? No? No. So I'm going to, someone's going to have to raise a gun again. And don't let me forget to screen deep strikes on turn 2. Just slap me in the face. Because, yeah, the infiltrators are going to push back and push across. That's the intention. I'm going to advance these Skyclaws. 1. That's not a big number. So they'll hang where they are. I'll advance these Skyclaws. 5. So 17. So the back of him will pop about there. Front guys will get up a bit further. Skyclaws, and let's see, let's get some aggressors. I'll advance the green unit of aggressors 2 so they can go 7. let you shoot. So with the ignores cover, do you have to have like exposed or something for that? And that'll be very hard. Do you have a way to jank exposed? There's no need. I'll just pop back here. Other unit, when time comes, they'll be raising a banner. I don't think I need the storm here that much. I'm going to advance the land speeder. So it goes 19. Okay, so I'm raising some banners, and yeah, that's my turn. Oh yeah, it's not my turn. I'm definitely going to kill everything. This is not a good start. So first of all, where the terrain is a bit rough for me. The fact that I have to stick that guy out in the open to stand on that mat is really bad. And second, the fact that I had to go first here is really bad. His army, I won't go into all the details, but it's going first against his army is not a good thing. Oh, sorry, Erik, the chaplain was meant to chuck over there too. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Oh, thanks.
You heard it here first from Chris Wright himself. Not the desired start to the game that he wanted. He said it arguably better than I could. Going first into GSC is often really rough. One of the things I'll note for anyone that's not familiar with GSC is these little red blips represent units that are in hiding, basically. So they are meant to pop up at the start of Chris's movement phase, but because he hasn't moved to shoot and because these two know each other, they've basically been left there until Erik deploys them. So normally they would pop up, but again, because these two know each other and know what they're doing, there was an agreement that there was no need to pop them up now. He'll just do it when he moves them on his turn. I checked with Erik a couple of his warlord traits and relics. The Patriarch warlord trait is double exploding sixes in combat. So it's going to pump out a whole bunch of attacks, and it also is just -4 rend on his Patriarch. So huge little damage piece there. And the relic is also pretty cool. Lets him move, advance, and charge for one, and he can move through enemy models, which is another really good way of getting him in. He also can fall back and charge and fall back and cast. So that Patriarch's going to be a real pain. He's probably hiding in a truck at this point, just so that everyone's aware. And as Chris did say as well, the objectives are out in the open. That is pretty scary. It looks like Chris has, just for some clarity for everyone, he's got little markers there, but he's raised a banner on one objective and two objective. And just to confuse the audience even more, Erik has a couple of extra ways to get exposed explicitly as well. If he's got a Atlan Jackal unit, the Genestealer Cults bikes, as you might see here, within 6 of a unit, he can spend CP to make that unit count as exposed. So there's a whole bunch of ways he's going to start getting extra buffs onto his damage and whatnot. We got a couple of things in chats. Putting up a poll for this game. Unfortunately, Cougar, I haven't been able to get that going. I'm a little new to the Twitch interface, so maybe I can pop one up in a moment. But yeah, sorry, apologies for that. But put your predictions in chat all the same. I'm genuinely curious what everyone thinks. Kind of keen. Battle of the Titans is certainly is. This is two of the best players in Australia going at it. There we go. Looks like Scotty has come to my rescue. There we go. We have a prediction. So put your predictions in, everyone. Who's going to win this round? I'd love to rally for my my boy Chris, but unfortunately, I do think Erik's definitely got the advantage here, and I think Chris knows that as well. But that is what I did say about the last game. I was a bit scared for Chris, so who knows what he'll pull out. Erik looking really relaxed in the background. We were joking earlier that he's relaxed because he doesn't have to explain how the GEC magic works, and again, going second, he's pretty comfortable. That's what he prefers, so that's pretty good. Tell Chris I still love him even if he doesn't win. Will do, don't worry. He knows that from everyone. And Chris certainly raises your banner. Connor, I don't blame you there. Big game ahead. Looking to watch the magic of Erik unfold. Yeah. For those not aware, Erik is somewhat of a magician with Genestealer Cults. He is taking this codex in multiple editions and just found so many interesting ways to play it. And you'll watch it because a lot of it's unconventional. I'll do my best to keep posted. Obviously, I would have loved to have him mic'd, but I'm perfectly okay with not having him on. He didn't want to because it was going to, he didn't want it to throw him off and stuff, and also he does swear a bit, so we made the mutual decision not to. So I'll try and keep you in and field with all the goings-on of his army as it was, and we will do our best to follow the coverage. So just while he's moving, really interesting moment. Banners, I think, is a really good decision for Chris. Erik's list doesn't really charge particularly well, and he wants to bring out all the units as fast as possible. And Chris doesn't really get good sightlines initially either, which is going to be a real shame for him. So I'm really curious to see what happens. Definitely forcing a couple of units. What he's doing with these scouts here is pretty clever. The scouts down in this corner here have camera cloaks. So the ones in cover will have a 2-up cover save from memory. They get +1 for being in cover, and they'll get an additional +1 for camera cloaks. Such an objective, so he's forcing a considerable amount of shooting for them to kill them. And if not, he's basically telling Erik, I want you to move a unit out to go contest an objective, or I'm going to get a 12 prime. So it's pretty clever. It's going to force Erik to actually either pull some shooting into the scouts and pull enough shooting out that Chris might be able to get some exposed shots on there, or it's going to force Erik to move balls, and as you conveniently see, Chris has got a Skyclaw unit down ready and ready to go, in case he goes for that. So, very clever moves, despite the fact that Chris isn't the most confident going in. I think he's setting up he's going to play this as best he can. I think that's what's going to be a real joy here. Erik's GSC has been pretty well undefeated for a long, long time. I can't remember the last time he lost with the list. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. To be honest, and I think Chris is going to be a really good example of how to pressure this list. Yeah, not much more to say. I'm not going to cut over the audio particularly much, but I will also get updates on our other 5-0 player just to see how that's going. Because if he wins, he is locked for second place. Unless these two draw somehow, in case he could squeeze first. Battle points wise, if I'm just double checking now, he's probably too many battle points away from Erik to chase. Erik would have to lose pretty hard because there's what's the difference in battle points here? Yeah, we're talking 40-point battle points between two players. So I don't think that'll be a chase that Ollie can do if Erik wins. If Chris wins, there's still again a 20-point battle point chase. So that would be difficult in and of itself because if Chris is beating Genestealer Cult, he's going to be beating them by scoring close to 100 points. So, Ollie's looking to secure second place. If these two somehow draw, he could take the game. And yeah, there's a lot to play for in these final rounds. Chris really wants to score a big point even if he loses, or so does Erik, just because that'll lock them for potentially podium. And then we've got a whole bunch of people in that 4-on-1 bracket looking to try and sneak up and snake onto the podium. So lots to play for in this round. I'm going to do my best to keep everyone as updated as I possibly can throughout about the various matchups. If there's any matchups you're interested in getting an update for, let me know. I'll do my best. And otherwise, one of the other things that we're going to note quickly here is it might take Erik a bit of time to do his early movement phases, because Genestealer Cult are a really technical movement-based army. So you're going to see a lot of him setting up, moving, taking a lot of time in his movement, then it'll speed up as the game goes on. So patience there with everything. I'm going to leave the audio on to Chris for a second and just get an update on how the other tables are going, and I will be back very shortly.
Nothing. So who's in what? How many of them are touching cover there? Sorry, does the 7 get him that far? That guy all the way up to there? Okay, yep. Too easy. Yeah, run away. Yeah, I did. Carrie, do you think you could help out with talking crap? Do you think you could really...
I'm good at that. Where are you from, Erik?
From Greece.
Greece?
Yeah.
Oh.
You got anything racist to say about Greece?
No, where is it? Where is it, Greece?
In Europe, next to like Italy, and it's like the kind of not very good country next to Macedonia. See, that was a good racist thing to say about Greece, wasn't it? See, I did well. Where was the Kelmore, sir?
Did you as well?
Not this year. He didn't make the team. See, I think I'm doing really well. So did you get sight there? Okay. Yeah, so he decided to take this year off. Yep. 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 Oh, nice. Well, I had better just make all my 4-ups on the Storm Shield. 6s, make 1. So 2 guys left. Yes. Yep. So on a regular guy. It's dead. Yep. Could the truck go further, or was that its max movement? Yeah, I don't think you can see anything.
You see it from the corner, you see these two. Easy.
Think you're bending the tape measure? All right, sure. So 1 save. Kills him. So regular guy, do I get cover? Yeah, I got 2 guys up there. AP3, take 1. Yep. Through the dents. Good, with cover. Yep.
All right. So after Erik's movement phase, just while he's shooting, I'll give a brief idea of what's going on ever so slightly as best I can. What we've seen is Erik shooting a unit of bikes down over here once again, just to take shots onto the Skyclaws in the middle of Ruin. This is mostly defense, just to make sure those Skyclaws get injured and hopefully destroyed so that they don't go that way, or potentially over this way, just to kind of shore up his defenses ever so slightly. Nice move, just to basically thin down Chris's army where he can. And unfortunately, this is one of the big things about playing such high mobility GC list for Chris, is he actually doesn't get a lot of choice as to how defensively he wants to play. Like, I think him pushing up is an indication that that's what he sees he needs to do, and he needs to have a force for setting up shock tactics over the next couple of turns. So I'm curious to see how this is all going to play out from that perspective. Obviously, some acolytes down there, just getting out to shoot. And over there, it looks like the scouts have been taken off by some other shooting, or maybe even psychic. I'm not quite sure. I'll get some clarification on that in a moment. All right, so just going to the chat quickly. Goiki is obviously two of my favorite people playing. For those not in the know, Goik is one of the Queenslander boys and very much knows these two and knows their style. I was on the WTC team with them last year, so that's awesome to see. And yeah, basically what we're going to see is a fair bit of shooting out of this turn, but the real turns to watch out for are the next couple. Erik's moved into more of a truck list, which I really like from this perspective. There's a couple of really good articles floating around online. I'll see if I can find one in the interim to link, which explains how this list operates ever so slightly, just as a way of explaining what he's going to go and do. But yeah, he is an inspiration to the Genestealer Cult community, but watch out for next turn, because next turn you're going to see, I'm not sure what he's got up in reserves, but I'm pretty sure it's 2 units of neophytes, and they're always going to be a persistent threat for Chris over the next couple of turns. You're seeing as well, he's beginning his classic, almost iconic screen of neophytes. I'm actually pretty sure that's what took the scouts out, was neophytes, the seismics in here. There's a handful of there touching cover that probably shot through into the scouts to clear them off, because the seismics are really, really efficient at taking them on. Probably also cast the additional -1 AP on them just to remove a bit of their cover and armor. So yeah, it'll be really, really interesting. Thank you, Goiki, for posting that. It should be. Hang on. Hang on. Yeah, I see. That's all good. What I will try and do is post that for you. Unfortunately, we've got it on a particular. Unfortunately, we've got the links and stuff on a particular timeout, so don't worry about that too much. I posted it there in the chat, just so that everyone has access to it. It's basically a really good article, a really good website for all things GSC, and Erik is one of the major minds that contributes to it a fair bit. So there's some really good content in there for explaining his list of what it does. His stringing is also really efficient up here. It allows him to get the shooting whilst also being able to basically peel back. Another really important element of the list that I will bring up is cult icons. Each of the neophyte units have a cult icon, which lets them bring back D3 models. Might be D6, I will double check for you momentarily. But it allows you to bring back a certain amount of the models in their command phase, which is super, super important. It means that he can aggressively trade in his seismics, or he can remove his seismics to drop out of cover. And when he does so, he can then bring them back next turn to shoot, potentially from another angle. One of the things you may see over the course of the game is some very bizarre strings like this. And what a lot of that does, aside from obviously letting him take a lot of board control and screen potential for things like Chris's Devastators, the Long Fangs, is if he removes the seismics at the top of the unit, he can cult icon them back into the middle of the board and get different angles all of a sudden the next turn. So there's a lot of tricks and stuff to it. I'm going to do my best to explain it as best I can, and during Chris's turns he will inevitably explain how he's using his army to try and defend against such tactics. Because what we're also going to see, and what I'll double check for you in a moment, is what's actually inside these trucks, because all of them are transports. I'm assuming the rock grinders are probably going to have the acolytes in them. And I'm assuming the Goliath trucks are going to have... They're going to have something in them. I believe it's the characters initially, maybe some acolytes in there as well. Because you have to, with the dedicated transport rules, which I believe only the Goliath trucks are, they have to start with occupants, otherwise they're destroyed. Whereas the rock grinders, because they're a heavy support option, do not. We'll just double check that they are heavy support. It's been a while since I've seen them on the table. Yeah. So only the Goliath trucks actually have to have occupants inside, and the rock grinders can choose to have this attack. So what he's probably done is put a unit of acolytes in each of the trucks and a whole bunch of his characters in there. Maybe even another one with a character and some more acolytes and a rock grinder. I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of the ones down here or up here. So yeah, we'll see how it's going. Just getting a clarification on what's in the trucks, because that'll give us a better idea of where Erik's going forward. And I'm really excited to show you guys Erik's turn 2, if I'm being honest. I'm just starting to... we're just starting to get going on like a couple of his early maneuvers, but watching how he deploys the Genestealer Cult turn 2 is going to show us really how you can utilize the maximum movement from Deep Strike in a couple of really funky ways that he can basically play around certain mechanics. So stay tuned. I'll cut you back to the stream, or the player, in this case Chris, and we'll go from there momentarily.
Let's get these couple of guys up 12. Yeah, I gotta do something. Yeah. Yep. Cheers. So these guys are essentially front of buildings, so it's 2 CP to be unshootable. Yeah, do it. Dare ya.
This is the buff spot.
Yeah.
The one I tripled, right?
You kill one.
Did I?
Yeah. You killed more from the other squad, I think.
How did I kill one of them?
Maybe you didn't kill any. No, you killed none from this squad. You killed 2. Must be another one in there somewhere. I'll get him in a sec. Okay, so I think this turn, yeah, I am doing things this turn. So let's go. Scouts. Hang in here, the other ones will stay. Let's advance infiltrators. 4, so he can go up to 10 if he wants, so 12. Sorry, 40 nears, anything else?
Okay, so just a couple of cut-ins quickly from me. A few different bits and pieces just to pick up. Over in this, there is a transport underneath that ruin, and it's got the Patriarch and, by the looks of things, the Sanctus in there. He's got a Kellamorph in a truck back there. He's got the Sanctus in a truck back there. Magus and 5 Acolytes in this truck here, and 5 Acolytes in this truck here. And the Reductus and the other 5... that truck is now indeed empty, I believe. So he's basically just scattering around his characters, using the trucks to keep them relatively safe, just in case. As you can see from Chris, in his movement, we're getting the inevitable screen for the turn 2 Genestealer Cult Plague Strike. Infiltrators in this matchup are invaluable. So basically, infiltrators mean that he can't come in within 12, which will mean that Erik still gets his seismic cannon shots onto them potentially with a unit. But what he doesn't get is any of the shotguns, any of the flamers, any of the webbers, which is huge. It also does a really good job here of screening off Chris's midfield ruin, because not being able to deep strike within here at all is a big deal. He might be able to. I double checked the measurement here, but if that's 15 inches, he can't even bring the lying in wait squad in. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm really excited to see how that all operates. Basically, it's going. Chris is setting up to try and defend and encourage Erik. Trying to encourage Erik not to drop this turn, force some shooting into the infiltrators, push the GSC forward. But we'll see how that goes. I do have an update to the scores, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously, at the end of Erik's turn, we go to turn 2 for Chris, and what we're staring at really quickly from Erik's perspective, Erik only gets 1 point on Broodswarm for having more models in his deployment zone than Chris does, also known as scoring 1 point for free in any real matchup going on first turn. No prisoners will score at the end, and we'll try and keep a rolling update for everyone as we go. Chris, on the other hand, being second turn, has started to score his primary. So we're talking about, where are we at with Chris? We've got 4 primary for him. He got knocked off the other objective by a couple of seismics, unfortunately. But importantly, the banner is still up, so that scored 2 points for the banner, which is very nice. Scored 3 points for Oath of Moment that turn. 1 for not falling back, failing a morale check, and the other 2 for being within 6 inches of the center. Obviously didn't score shock tactics that turn because Erik wasn't really on any objectives to begin with that he could definitely reach. So Chris is standing at 9 points at the start of his turn 2. Obviously there may be some more points scored over the course of this round. We'll keep you posted. I'm going to cut back to Chris as he sits and explains, but before I do, I'll just go to the chat ever so slightly. The original comment was deleted, but thankfully, Goik, I posted it for you with the network, so we should be good. Connor Keane agrees. Great website to try and pick apart how Erik plays this army, and is a really good learning example for how it works. Oh gosh. Yeah, obviously making them fight for Simon's love is kind of the thing. The channel points seem to have both of them pretty tied up, which is pretty cool. So that's nice, and we shall see. Also, by Lemon turning around and feeling very sad that he's not one of Goik's loved children. I get it. That is hard. Sometimes that is a harsh reality of life, and especially with Warhammer players, you can't be everyone's favorite, unfortunately. By Lemon, for those not familiar, is Sam, who was on commentary with me over Saturday, and Altiton, Simon's love goes to Erik. Well, they have known each other for a very long time, so I wouldn't be surprised there. Anyway, we'll cut back to Chris's movement phase. Another thing that I do want to highlight, having talked to Chris, just before I forget, is Chris bought aggressors in his list, quote, purely for Erik Lathouras' GSC. So aggressors are going to let him Auspex scan anything that comes in with 12, so he can use that as a way to force pressure and kind of do an additional screening choice. So he's going to want to keep them close because they are one of his best units for killing all of the GSC. Obviously, it looks like they got Chapter Master rerolls this turn, which is going to give them full rerolls to hit against the Outland Jackals. Very good because they're already naturally neg-1 to hit. So he wants to get them cleared off as soon as possible. And it looks like those Sky Claws up in the top corner that were in the ruin are going to try and make a charge on that truck. I don't know if the plan is to kill it or just to wrap it, but we shall see. Because limiting Erik's mobility is pretty important here. The other thing I will note is that there's only 2 characters in that transport, so if he rolls 1s, things will die. Erik did talk a lot as well about having caches of demo charges on all the trucks, so all the trucks have the ability to explode, auto-explode for 1 CP. So watch out for that as the game progresses. But for now, I'm going to switch it back to Chris as he explains through his movement.
And then, yeah, reserves. So my board edge in this game is that one. But I want it to be this one. Put some sky claws there, so they should be going. 4 up save. They should be going. Like this. Yeah, so I'll chuck some sky claws over here. Yep. Very much so. Sky. Genestealer Cult get to do that. Why don't I? And there's... You go over there and help me kill the truck. I don't think that's good. I'll leave the devs. Okay, shooting. You want to do anything? So the grav cannons can all shoot over. Yep, 30 and 3. Yep. Yep, so 2. Okay, so let's start by pumping some aggressors into these guys. Yep. So first half of the regular shots, pause, re-roll 1s, T4. 4 saves, neg 1. Neg 1. Oh yeah, you yeah. Then second half of the regular shots. Five. Okay, well that's good. So ooh, 4. Okay. So that was these guys. Yep. Let's go the devs next. Let's put Signum won't matter. So cyclone missile launchers there, and 3 grab there, 1 there. So the 3 grab here. I'll just put all the grabs there. So boom, 1 guy, 2 guys, 3 guys, 4 guys hitting on 4s. Reroll 1s. Reroll 1. Yeah. 3s. Cyclone launcher into him. 1 hit, 1 wound, sneak 2. And I'll cherub him. 1 hit, 1 wound. 5 down to 2 multi-guns. Hit. Nothing. Then over here we'll put the melters into the truck. Chapter Master. 1 AP4. Am I in half range? I don't think so, man. No. Okay, 1 damage. Fantastic. Great. 3 Chapter Master Melters. I was hoping for better than that, but that's fine. Let's just put all of their shots into the Neos. I might spend 1 to ignore modifiers with them. And I'll put the Signum on the Cyclone Launcher, so they'll get 12 shots. Yeah. And so I'm ignoring modifiers and +1 to hit. Signum. 3s. 8, no AP. Grav cannons on 3s. That's pretty good. 3s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'll Signum, I'll cherub the Cyclone Launcher into the truck. 2s, 3s. Alright, well, killed a lot of neophytes, but not a lot of trucks. Charges. Let's put them into the truck. They get +2 from the chaplain, so 11. What do you got on your objective? Doesn't matter, it's not going to come up, is it? So let's get one guy touching over here. I guess I should wrap it so that would not be that annoying for you, but a little bit. And a little bit annoying is as good as I can do. More important is the getting out on that side. He's a big base, but so everyone should be within. It's also WTC ruins, so they're all in there, and then we'll get those in there. No, do I care? No. So I'll get fighting. So let's get you around there. You guys there. To be fair, we've almost already wrapped. Let's go. Don't need to be around that side. so we'll go just within 1. Okay, so let's go with the hammer. So 3's re-rolling. 2 hits. 2's to wound with a +1. Fist. 4 hits. 2's. 2 wounds at -3. Would be 2, but 1 each. It's just been that kind of a weekend.
It's not that bad. Like, you fucking talk so much shit.
The hammer on average kills that thing.
Oh, -1 damage.
I know with -1 damage, but yeah, average 4 hits, 3.5 wounds. I'm okay, I'm having fun. Chainswords, 2's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Maybe these guys will do it. Yep. Won't be any AP though. 6, 9. Yep. And I'll just make sure I've got him wrapped. So we'll go to here. I don't think you have any way to. These guys to there. You to just within an inch. You guys all over there. That would be about right. All right, you can swing back. Regular guy. Yep. Okay, that's my turn done. So didn't get any shock tactics. It was 2 for banners, not 3. Where'd the pen go? Judicia doing the oh no, you can't, it's not far enough up. No worries, nothing. Just got roll. Yeah, pick a unit within 3, 5 slots.
Okay, so the end of Chris's turn. It looks like his scores are pretty accurate. Obviously, Oath's moment will score at the end of the battle round. So he may scrape a couple more points off there. But we're about to go into the one of the potential big turns for Erik. I'm not sure if he'll commit just yet. Chris has done a pretty good job. Obviously, a little sad for him that he didn't blow up the Goliath truck in the corner. Some shocking rolls there, admittedly. So, but thankfully the Marines are alive, and that was important. I think that's a rock grinder to the point anyway. Wrapped that, so just to try and cause a bit of a problem, I wouldn't be surprised if something comes out to go deal with them. Or maybe it's just part of a GSA shooting brick that might come down here. I'm not quite sure yet. Smart move putting the Terminator on the objective. What he is doing with the infiltrators is very smart. I'm really curious to see what Erik's turn is going to look like. Obviously, Erik's, you can see in the top camera up there, he's postulating as to what he's going to bring in from Cult Ambush. Speaking of Cult Ambush, I've had a Feral Queenslander drop in on me to say hi. You want to reveal yourself from the shadows there?
No, a bit more than hello everyone. Sam Levine here again. I pestered Jack. I've got some free time now to actually commentate and join Jack, so I thought I'd alleviate him of some of these duties. So yeah, look, very tough game. Obviously two of the members who are part of the Australian WTC winning team. So and Erik's been on an absolute tear with his GSC. But I hear Chris Wright in the past has had his number. So the two times they've played previously in the tournament, Chris Wright has won both of them. So we'll see. Maybe third time is a charm for
Well,
Mr. Erik Lathouras.
speaking of third times, if we're allowed to go into it, you know what this is as well. This is round 3 of State of Origin.
I hear this is the origin. This is the deciding factor. Whoops. Sorry, everybody. We'll get our camera sorted out. But sorry about that one. Yes, this is the decider. This is the final, right? So who wins the State of Origin? We will find out. I have a curious question while Erik's still thinking out and mapping out in his beautiful big brain of his where to go and where to deep strike and cult ambush. What happens if Ollie Johnson wins his game? Like, how does this look?
So we I did a little bit of a run through with this, but I will remind everyone: if Ollie wins, his only real path to winning the event is if these two draw. Because they're both. I think Erik's from memory nearly 30 battle points ahead of Ollie, and Chris is 20 battle points ahead of Ollie. So if either of them win, because if Chris is going to beat GSC, it's going to be a high scoring game. They will take first place. If they draw and Ollie wins, hilariously, he'll overtake both of them, and they'll both secure the podium. But that's really Ollie's major out to winning the event. Obviously, if he wins his game and they don't draw, he will come second at the event, which is a huge achievement. So he's still got a lot to play for in his game against, I believe, Joshua Brody and his Demons, who, last I checked, in his matchups with Votan, has not been particularly kind on Votan players. So that'd be a hell of a game for Ollie to pull out, if I'm being completely honest.
Absolutely. Well, he's played for one New South Wales ANZTC champion, Master, the New South Wales Master, and Alex Inglisos. So maybe he could beat another New South Wales ANZTC.
Not only that, but he took down the current New South Wales Master the round before. He took down Greek, he took down Jack Blanche in round 3. He's got the names of just about everyone at New South Wales Masters that was going for the title. So, who knows, maybe this is his hat trick. Maybe he does have his number out for all of us. So we'll see about that. Obviously, it looks like Erik's moving, so we'll have a bit of a talk once he's put his models down, because this might be a very long movement phase. GSC tend to have
absolutely.
GSC turn 2 is often referred to as their first movement phase a lot of the time. So we'll see what.
Do you know how much was actually in reserve or in cult ambush?
I believe it's just 2 units of neophytes.
Okay.
So one with lying in wait and the other with what do you call it? Just regular. So just a flamer brick and a seismic brick. So we're not probably going to see too much. I think with Chris having infiltrators and whatnot, putting too much of your army up in the air might be a bit of a mistake. Because only one unit gets that massive little 3-inch come in within 3 inches. The only issue with that as well is that infiltrators block them out to 12 all the same. So that entire unit of flames and shotguns can't go anywhere near the infiltrators to clear them. The only thing that would be the neophytes with seismics. Neophytes with seismics dropping in, but then the use of the lying in wait squad gets deleted because they won't be able to get crossfire or exposed really against the infiltrators. So what Chris is doing with this with these infiltrators is also very clever. The other thing I'll note, as was brought to my attention by a friend watching the stream, as I should remember by now because I do not like it as a rule. Goik's got a good point in chat. Lol, just 2 units of neophytes. They do like 40% of his damage. That's a very valid point there, Goik. So this objective in the corner is actually stickied by Chris. So it's going to be pretty hard for Erik to shift him off that. He's going to secure Chris or landing zone to just keep scoring some points. Taking the bikes out down here is a pretty big deal, as Chris is going to have a chance to set up over here with his Sky Claws. So once again, I kind of like what Chris is doing. I think there's a chance. Not an amazing chance, if I'm being completely honest with you. Oh, it's weird. Our points seem to have reset. Not an amazing chance. I still think this would be a really rough game for him, but he's doing all of the right things, which is an absolute shocker if you ask me. What do you reckon, Lemon? Chris Wright actually knows how to play the game. It's really, really amazing, being completely honest.
Well, I'm glad someone from New South Wales learned how to finally play 40k, and I mean, what better person than Chris Wright himself? So, no, there's a bunch of good 40k players in New South Wales, and Chris Wright is one of them. So, very much looking forward to watching this game and seeing this. This will be a very good masterclass in how positioning and movement is done by Erik Lathouras. I know you and I have both played against him, and it is amazing watching him place models and be able to see all the angles and visualize everything. And just, it's a masterclass, and well, we'll see what happens.
Rusty, thanks for following. The other playing against this list, I think I still hold a very particular record against Erik that I'm still very proud of to this day. Thus far, I believe I'm the only person that's ever killed his Acolyte Icon Ward, which is a very large banner unit that helps him bring back models. So I will take that with great sincere pride. I still lost that game by 49 points. So despite that pale victory, but yeah, watching him play is an absolute masterclass. It's a bit of a shame we can't get a mic on him. I would have liked to have him explain it all, but honestly, we're about to see why he is known as like basically the patriarch of GSC himself. So what it looks like is we've got some pure strains coming down here. He's going to want to watch out for that Judicar that's floating around. Judicar's got a Heroic Intervene 6 inches strat for 0 CP. And also has a 3-inch fight last. So Eric's going to be pretty careful with how he charges. Thankfully, I think he'll figure it out. But we will see. It looks like he's basically trying to pressure this flank. He's pressuring that little box down there is going to stop Chris from using that box to threaten over here. And the less pressure Erik can see, the better it's going to be for Chris. Because one of the things that Chris is trying to do, especially up here in the top corner, is get something on that objective just to try and get his primary up. Because GSC is so good at denying primary that he needs to start scoring it as best he can. Joyce got a very good point in the comments as well. The cannons on the neophytes go to damage 3 and are extra AP as well with the Rusted Claw spell. So they'll be neg 4, 3 damage, which conveniently is very good at killing Space Marines. So we will see how that one works. Interestingly enough, as well, I'm not entirely sure on the measurements there, but I believe Erik can drop a unit in here. I'm just not sure. So I might have to go and clarify that at some point or another. This is also a turn where randomly the Space Marines are in the tactical doctrine. So any Overwatch is weirdly twice as effective in terms of an AP perspective. So I'll be curious to see if we see any drops this turn. I think Erik might wait till turn 3 if he thinks he can. What do you reckon, Sam?
We'll see. Obviously, the biggest thing about GSC is their whole crossfire mechanic and like making the most of that. So people aren't aware. So it looks like as Erik's moving stuff. So we'll try and quickly wrap this thing up before we get onto Erik and commentating. So crossfire, basically you're able to put little tokens down, and what it allows the GSC army is to get +1 to hit if there's a crossfire token down, and there's something called exposed. So when something is exposed, when you draw like a true line, like that goes through from your model through their unit into your model, or you're able to treat it as exposed, you get +1 to wound. So, and then if you're within 12 inches, you ignore the benefits of cover. So this GSC have many ways to get those shooting profiles improved. So I guess we'll go watch it, Jack, and see what happens.
Indeed, yeah. I think we're going to switch over to the players just to see what's going on here. Chris should be talking a fair bit about his responses to it, so let's cut over to them and see what they have to say.
Yeah, I could go really badly for you if you let it. I'll go really badly for you if you let it.
it looks like they need a bit more time. So because Eric's not mic'd, what we're gonna do is run over in the meantime. Lemon, do you wanna run through a couple of interesting bits and pieces, maybe some insights in this game? Because what I'm going to do is just have a double check on the other 5-0 game to see how that's going. Oh, have I lost him?
No worries.
Oh, no, there he is.
No worries.
As you were.
No, no worries at all. Yeah, so like also Erik right now, so obviously people have played against GSC, so while Erik's putting stuff down, so you'll see a bunch of things that might like, hey, hang on, this looks a lot closer than 9 inches away. So with Genestealer Cult, they have some very unique mechanics in the sense of when they go into ambush, like they go into like their own version of deep strike, kind of similar to how Chaos Demons work now. They can either come in 8 inches away from anything, and they can still do the regular charges, or they can come in 6 inches away, but they are unable to charge. So this allows the Genestealer Cults to really get in behind enemy lines and cause some havoc by obviously doing a bit of a different sort of version of deep strike. Notably, also there will be one unit in the army generally which has actually a 3-inch away deep strike, so allows the player to actually steal some objectives and like get behind the enemy opposition. And then what Jack was referring to as well is infiltrators. So infiltrators have a special rule which denies actually deep strike up to 12 inches away. So really prevents Erik from actually playing his game of getting behind enemy lines and trying to get the crossfire and expose mechanics online, because Genestealer Cult weaponry for the most part are a bunch of basic strength 4, no AP, damage 1 shooting. But when you get the crossfire mechanic and when you get exposed, you get the +1 to hit and the +1 to wound, along with the other stratagems and stuff like that. You can actually really boost up that efficiency of shooting, and it is an insane amount of volume of power. So yeah, and shout out to Sitting Alive. So it's Mr. Blood for the Block God, absolute legend in the Victorian scene, absolute chaos fanatic through and through. So please subscribe to him, and Mr. Simon Gojkovic. So what part of the winning Australian WTC team, and absolute legend with the Ethos team. So and shout out to the Ethos podcast. So that's something they recently just started doing, which is part of what Chris Wright and Erik Lathouras' team is that Ethos group. So a group out in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. And they're talking about competitive 40k and some of the best in the world that do it. So definitely give it a listen. But yeah, as we see now, Erik's just measuring and moving and checking how things are going. So it's definitely a masterclass of all the positioning and movement. It's very interesting to watch. And as you'll see, precisely Erik will do some stringing out and make sure he's not being exposed, or where if Chris Wright wants to have something in deep strike, and also just make sure they're stringing, protecting his characters, because those characters in the Genestealer Cult army really help buff up those little neophyte units with getting rerolls to hit or rerolls to wound, or ones to hit, ones to wound, as well as using the Acolyte Icon Ward. So the Acolyte Icon Ward, with some of the icons in the units, they allow them to do an action, and at the end of the movement phase, basically he res models back. So those little Acolyte units or neophyte units, if you don't kill them all, you can res up to D6 models with them. And the same with the bikes, which you see up in the top left-hand corner. So something to make note of. So if you want to kill a squad, you better kill it to the man. Otherwise, it'll start growing back and back and back. But yeah, some very top-level play, and obviously looking through things and trying to figure out where to go and how to shoot and activate, because obviously the Genestealer Cult army in this drop turn, they only have so many activations. And what I mean by activations is how many shots they have. And obviously you got to sometimes, normally in 40k, you try and avoid split firing, but when you have so few activations per se, you maybe need to split fire and make sure you kill what you do, because look, they're T3, no 6-up save bodies basically, with not much to say, not much else. So you really need to make sure these lads stay alive. And then we see Erik dropping down his Patriarch there in the top left.
Just so you're clear, Sam. Unfortunately, not dropping down the Patriarch for Chris's sake. That Patriarch's in a transport that's behind this ruin. So he's been on the board. and is probably going to go out and do some murdering, because that model is kitted to the absolute nines to do murder, which is pretty cool from my perspective. It's rare you see a Patriarch on the field nowadays with GSC, which is really anathema to their lore and stuff, but such is the ways of competitive Warhammer. I do have an update on Ollie on the second table.
That kills another model.
Unfortunately, Ollie ran into local New South Wales Votan killer Josh Brody. And as they both described, Josh gets to play passively and somehow win the game by about 20 points. So it's not looking good for Ollie in terms of securing a sixth win, which is a real shame. But we shall see how it pans out. All right, so in terms of this, it does appear like we are getting some neophytes down over in the little corner right here. They were not there a moment ago, so it looked like they're stringing back. A few of them are touching cover all the way back here. Again, we're seeing that nice little string of neos, mostly to get shooting and probably defend that objective. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not Erik. Unfortunately, I don't have that big second brain when it comes to playing Genestealer Cult and getting the maximum utility out of them. But we'll see how it all ends up. This shooting phase is going to be pretty important, so hopefully I can cut over to Chris and he can run us through it as it happens.
Well, if you're Erik. I'm pretty sure I'm about to just like lose most of this and be screwed. But we'll see. Yep, so we'll just like this guy over here. Yep, so -3 no cover. Yeah.
All right, so you heard it there first from Chris. How's this game going? Well, if you're Erik. Chris doesn't seem particularly confident that much of his flank over here will exist into the phase, which is a bit distressing because that's going to really allow Erik to start pinching him on primary. And basically, one of the big issues with this with this mission for Chris that he highlighted early, that I'll remind anyone jumping on right now, is that these objectives actually really aren't safe for him. Like, they're out in the open if he wants to take them, and that is a real risk for him because it exposes him to Erik's shooting, which is not insignificant. The Pure Strains down there are a really nice tech piece. They came out of one of the trucks, and they're going to bear into that ruin, potentially taking out anything that doesn't survive. I'm pretty confident as well with the shooting that there's a that he's going to be able to get shots down here, or else I wouldn't have seen it happen. I think, if I'm being honest, we might see shots over into this unit over here. But again, I'm not quite sure yet. We'll have to see how it all transpires. Looks like Erik's picking up some dice, so we're probably going to have to reassess the game state at the end of Erik's shooting phase, because that's going to give us a real indication of where the game state is currently. One of the other interesting points that I will note, actually that's probably where we're going to see a lot of the shooting, if I'm being completely honest, is up in here into the Skyclaws. They're sitting back there and into that land speeder just to try and secure a couple more points. Chris, that land speeder there is very smart from Chris in a lot of ways. I think what he's doing is the same thing he did against Arks, where he's using that with a scout squad in it to say, if you kill it, I'm going to emergency disembark and try and play the game of I get 12 primary. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. I'm not going to count him out yet, but I will trust Chris as a very good metric for his own games. Chris thinks about the game on a level I seldom see, and it's really impressive to talk to him sometimes about it, because he knows how the game's progressing. He'll probably already be thinking a few turns ahead here, just probably out of experience with Erik, knowing kind of what he's up to, where he's at. So we shall have to see where this all transpires. It looks like we're getting a couple of shots down, because one of the big things as well is that the mobility here is limited. What do you reckon, Lemon?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. As I said, I watched this shooting phase to see what happens. Look, we saw and heard Chris complain earlier about how sometimes the dice don't go his way. Not only in this game, but in previous games. So look, the dice can be a fickle mistress, and sometimes it doesn't go your way. But look, good players don't blame dice, and I know Chris isn't complaining about dice. Just sometimes when it happens, you have to roll your eyes and go, "Not again!" or "Come on." So
were you
we'll
watching
see what happens? And
were you watching the York game?
I did not get to watch the York game, unfortunately.
Oh my word! I was very scared for him in that game. It looked for a moment like he wasn't going to be able to take out a kill rig that was bearing down on him. He fired about 4-6 melters and a couple of cyclones at it, and it all just bounced. And it was just like, oh no, please, not like this. So he has had a fair weekend when it comes to dice. The 3 games he's been on stream, they haven't been performing particularly well. So hopefully, but he's still been showing results with the army even underperforming. So we'll see how it works. But yeah, I mean, dice are a fickle mistress. Good players know not to trust them, but good players also know that that's how it works.
Absolutely.
For anyone interested, please feel free to message me personally, and I can give you a 3-hour lecture on deviation and why that's important. But I'll spare that for most people because this game's already being cerebral enough between Erik and Chris. So looks like we've got a couple more shots running through. I'm not seeing what's being removed, but it looks like there's wounds on those skyclaws, so I assume that's where the target's going.
Yeah, and also, so you see these little orange dots or little red dots going on each of the units. So, like, hang on a second, this isn't Leagues of Votan and Judgment tokens, but no, these are little crossfire tokens. So basically, this allows Erik's army to get +1 to hit, and if it's exposed for some reason, it gets the +1 to wound. So that's what you'll see those little tokens for, and also has some additional side abilities. So these will go out, be removed at the end of the turn, but allows also Erik to do some special stratagems, like, for example, 1 CP, ignore Overwatch for that Genestealer Cult unit that's coming, bearing down to charge, I imagine. So just little tips and tricks, and it's one of the main mechanics in which Genestealer Cults operate from.
Very, very true there. It's also important to note that exposed when it happens is a bit of a joke, because Erik's list is built around being exposed in a lot of really, really cute, weird ways. So expect to see that pop up over time. What we're also seeing here is a massive commitment to this flank, which I very much like out of Erik. Basically, he's turning around and saying, even if this all goes horribly, for some reason nothing dies, this is probably still going to be relatively safe. Because losing that neophyte unit would be pretty critical. The neophyte unit up here is pretty well injured at this point. So we shall have to see what happens. Chris really wants to be able to get up here. Just start threatening into the backfield. Whether or not he'll be allowed to, your question. Obviously, with Patriarch coming out, it looks like he's probably going to keep these alive to charge with Patriarch. Not quite sure yet. So we'll have to see how it all transpires. I don't think he wants to.
I was going to say, do you want to try and cut over to Chris's mic and see if we can listen to some of the things that are happening?
Yeah, we'll give it a go. Obviously, it being an interesting game, him being in a bit of a stressful position given how the game is going, we might not get much, but we'll see, where possible, we're going to do our best to get them to explain how everything's going.
through events, yep. What's your strength? What, oh, it's a strength 4 neg 1 for the 6 shots. AP 2 is it? So 1 goes through, 1 down to 1. Yep. Squad. That's sad, yeah. Yeah. Yep. So 9 also, so. Was that a?
I'm just rubbing it in, bro. Just flex.
Was that a maths issue or a side issue? Or just a rub it in issue? Yeah, it's just don't even need it.
I'll fuck around.
It's, oh, actually, I don't know how many I'll be able to swing, so I'm not sure how many I'll be able to get to swing. So, he shouldn't be able to. Are they on 25? If you can fit. I tried to make it so you couldn't. I thought they were on 32.
No, I'm not going to do that to you. I'm making it so you can.
Yeah, I can't get through. No worries. Yeah, they're stopping you going through, so I was also stopping me going through.
I reckon I'm going to go after that party.
Did you charge to Judiciar or? But they only charged there. Yeah, they did charge both. Okay.
Not really, right? First drop. I think it's fine.
Yep.
So just clear it up. So if I learn CP fight last there, make my fight last after.
No, so I would make you fight last, so then I would go. You would go? Yeah, so I could make you fight last. I'll put it on the Genestealers. It does. Yeah, so you have to start there, and then I go, and then if I kill you, I can pile in, touch a bunch, and you can't. So I'll put it on the Genestealers.
So if I do just charge him, I still fight last.
Then I'd fight last the Genestealers, and then it'd be a Saber-Tooth, then my Judiciar. No, so I make you fight last, so then we're both at even. So he's charged, so he gets to go first. And then the person whose turn it's not gets the first pick. So I would get to pick the Judiciar. I can't pick these guys because they're fighting last. I'll make the Steelers fight last and Judiciar would go first. You can't make, if I pick, you can't stop them fighting for 5. So hitting on 2s, exploding 6s, strength 7, 6s to wound, do a mortal in addition. So are you charging him? Yeah, otherwise I can kind of wreck you. Yeah, Steel's fighting last, so Saber-Tooth will be first. With a demo? Oh god. 4 up, invuln, down to 3. Yeah, no worries. Make it.
So 1 wound, right?
Yep. Oh, sorry, Eric. I'm going to use the CP to 0 CP to heroic with him, and just sort of go there. Just a little bit of free movement. So I'll go into. Oh, you get that one. Not that it matters. Nothing. Just got it. Your truck would have got to go next anyway. Well, it's a rock rider. Oh, that's a truck. So Genestealer into Steelers. Did you touch him? You touched him? Yeah, it's fine. So let's just roll the hits. Good. Threes. Just, yeah. One wound. Oh, dear. Yep. Yeah. So, sorry, everything, how are you splitting it? Yeah. Can you just roll saves for me? 3 up normally. Well, you suck. So do you still have your lying in wait unit? Yeah. Okay, I don't have any morale to do I? Yep. No one's put bombs down yet. I'll get 8 primaries, 2 banners. That turn I got 3 for oaths. And so Assault Doctrine now. Well, I can't just kill everything. That would be really helpful if I could do that. Yeah, it was. Or do I want to go into Assault Doctrine? I could stay in Tactical. Oh, you ignore AP1. Assault Doctrine. So you're up to 1 CP now? So I feel like I need to wrap my whole army around a truck over here or something. That feels like what a good player would do, doesn't it? So I'll put Chapter Master rerolls on himself, I guess. Let's go reroll hits in combat. Bonus to charges. Yep.
Sorry, you go. There you go, mate. Get the fucking energy in ya.
Alright, so while Chris is having a bit of a think, as he said, kill every unit in the game, that would be awfully nice, but I don't think he'll be able to. Erik racked up a lot of points that turn, and he's put himself in a really good position. Fewer strains ripped down a unit of Skyclaws, he's only got 1 unit of Skyclaws left forward, and really has to start thinking about how everything's going to go, and what he's going to go prioritise. He can't really reach out and touch everything, but look, if ever there was a plan, Chris is going to figure it out. He is an Assault Doctrine now, which is huge, so he gets his double exploding sixes in combat. It's going to mean that if that luck swings back, it's going to swing back even harder. So, what do you reckon, Lemon? What do you reckon he's got on? Because he did get okay in primary. Eric's kind of had to leave the top alone and focus on clearing off that bottom bracket. Also super lucky on that, unlucky on that shooter. Right? Like, oh my days. Only one wound through with 7 attacks, exploding sixes or whatever. 5 attacks, I think it was.
Yeah, look, sometimes it happens, right? But yeah, it's gonna be interesting now for Chris to try and come back and like it's interesting. I'm surprised we talked about it in the Dark Angels game and profited off him taking shock tactics, but in this game, Eric's doing a very, very good job, obviously, of denying potential shock tactics in the sense of you see in this bottom left objective, he's got so much stuff on it, like with the trucks and then the obstacle bodies, and then on the top left, he's got it all the way back in terms of some obstacle and then the bikes, and so I guess Chris needs to probably clear it off late game, or he's not going to be scoring that secondary very well just yet. And he's obviously got the Sky Claws right there in the middle, ready to leap out and go somewhere if he needs to. But the battle's happening right there down that bottom ruin, as we can see. He lost a bunch of aggressors, unfortunately, to some shooting from the Genestealer Cult. We'll see what he could do now, though, and like see if he can come back. Obviously, those bodies are right there, ready to get absolutely pummeled by some volume of fire. See if he can do enough. And
so
then,
yeah, the aggressors are also super short range. I don't know what Chris has in Deep Strike either. I'm gonna go double check that real quick. See what he's got in reserves while he's moving around. But yeah, as you said, it's shock tactics. Shock tactics is an interesting one because it's forcing Erik to play around shock tactics. Like, let's acknowledge that. It may look like a glaring weakness at 0, but it is forcing Erik to commit to making sure he's not giving up an easy objective every single time, or not trying to play string games to cause pressure, which is what not piercing will do. He's actually having to just shoot clear Chris rather than doing that. So it's an interesting decision. I don't think it looks a lot worse. And look, if there's a will, there's a way. And I'm really curious to see what Chris does in his movement. So, Eric's got a Medowie classic cocktail on him. That's terrifying. Someone should take that off him before he gets into trouble.
We can tell how serious this game's going. Hey, what is it? A specialized Warhammer themed cocktail at all?
Yeah,
or is that
I believe it is. I believe that one is called. Shall we use the polite term canoodling with a salamander?
That is definitely a term.
Canoodling with a salamander, but using the alliteration version of that first word. So yeah, it's a pretty nice drink. I will confess. Yeah, honestly, the hardest part about Erik, and one of the things I did say, and I will talk shit for, is I asked why he didn't want to be mic'd up, and we had a whole conversation about it. And I was like, "What am I going to tell your loyal viewers on stream when you don't want to be mic'd up?" And he's like, "I don't know, make up an excuse." And it's like, "All right, I'll tell them that you were too short and you couldn't reach the mic stand." So just so everyone knows, that's why Erik doesn't have a microphone on him, because we can't trust him. And yeah, I don't know why he is being served beverages like that. Honestly, look at the size. I'm surprised they didn't ask him for ID. But yeah, yeah, as Swallow said, can't believe they let a kid drink like that. Don't worry, he's over 18, bro. He's taking piss. I've always maintained that one of Erik's distinct tactical advantages is the fact that he doesn't have to like bend over to stare at angles and stuff. He's actually got one of the best views of a Warhammer table from the side of it. So maybe that's his secret weapon. Maybe we all just need to lop a couple of inches off and play like Erik. Maybe that's the trick to getting into the headspace. And I'm going to go check on Chris's reserves and stuff. So do you want to give us some thoughts while I do that? It shouldn't be too long.
Sounds wonderful. Yeah, so, I mean, he is the human line of sight measure already. Erik's got there already at the table height, perfect to measure things. And looks like now Chris is setting up, so he's obviously pushing for those sky claws there. As you can see, in the forest, he's got the chaplain there. He got all his buff up, the buff to charge and the full rerolls. And then here we go, words of wisdom from Hayden Waldock himself. Don't be better, just be shorter, or be shorter. So there you go, words of wisdom for viewers at home. that's his key success. I think Hayden, you're failing that measurement as well. So don't. That's all right. Can't help genetics sometimes, but no. Interesting game. Interesting game. So we'll see what Chris can do now to punch back. So look, the GSC will fold once if things connect, but Chris is going to make sure that he doesn't expose himself too much or too quickly, as there is still stuff Erik has lying in wait and in ambush, ready to go and ready to pounce wherever it needs to be. So, but this is obviously a big turn now. So with Space Wolves, now that Chris is in Assault Doctrine, cute thing, and as he is playing Whirlwind of Range, which is exploding sixes in melee, and Born of Heroes, which is +1 to hit, in the Assault Doctrine for Space Wolves, they get actually another role, or another version of Exploding Sixes. So it's essentially double Exploding Sixes, which is fantastic and really lets the dice flowing. So obviously sometimes when you see those re-rolls, they'll say, look, I'm going to re-roll everything that's not a 6, and let's fish for some 6s. And look, sometimes it'll pay off, especially if you're hitting at like a 2s and stuff like that. I mean, you'd be silly not to. So yeah, it looks like Chris just positioning stuff around the board, moving those aggressors now to get lines of sight on those neophytes and start blamming and blasting some people. But yeah, people in the chat, is there a favorite Warhammer themed beverage that people enjoy? I mean, I heard here there is one at Medowie Social, so obviously people drink responsibly, but the Storm Surge is a cocktail of choice, which has been enjoyed by many, I hear. And I'm sure there are some other fun Warhammer-themed drinks. If there's something you would like to participate in. I know Mr. Hayden Waldock is a fan of a bottle of wine himself, and I'm sure Erik is as well, I'm pretty sure. Not sure if it's red or white, but I'm sure they both go down just as well. Storm Surge for sure, says Mr. Ducky. Is a Donkey Punch a Tau style drink? I mean, maybe with the Onaga Gauntlet. I mean, sure, there's got to be a Genestealer Cult based drink, being the Cult Ambush, or being one of those sneaky little cocktails where it just hits you like a truck, you know? You can just keep drinking one or two or three, and then after a couple, it's like, oh man, like it hits you and you start feeling the wobbles, and you're like, oof, I am a little more drunk than I thought I would be. So maybe that's something for the Medowie Social to think about next time. But yeah, so people, this is obviously being held at a bar, like a licensed venue, so nice area, and the whole venue is being booked out by Warhammer 40k players. So good on them for allowing something to happen. And it's a private function basically, so eat and drink and enjoy the good times. And if Jack hasn't done so already, so while we're just getting some positioning and strategic reserves done, this is part of the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network. So we're just a group of people who are trying to stream and present Warhammer 40,000 content, and as well as other tabletop war games for your viewing pleasure. So if you guys would like to support, please feel free to join the Ko-Fi. There is a little description that it will be in Twitch chat. So obviously you can buy some objective markers or join. It's very similar to merchandise. Very similar, apologies, to Patreon. Any tips or merchandise you purchase will directly support us. So, and all help is appreciated, as well as just sharing this stream, get other people to watch and enjoy it, as well as just join the Discord. The Discord is free for everybody to join and participate in. I know Mr. Scotty D49, so he is a big fan of the War of Grey Plastic. So I know we all have some piles of potential to get through and paint up. I know Mr. Hayden Wildock himself is painting up an Australian-themed Space Marine army. So look, post some progress photos, post some pics, get some advice if you want, or just get the likes and admiration and maybe some fake internet points along the way, which is all that really matters in life, right? As long as you get some fake internet points and upvotes and emotion reactions, that's what truly, truly matters.
You said it perfectly. Alright, I've got the score updated for Erik's turn, so I'll punch that in. We'll have a bit of a chat about it, and then we'll switch over to Chris. But yeah, obviously, after a bit of sledging, Erik's looking pretty good. He's having a good time. They're both having a really good time. Like, that's one of the benefits of having like teammates play against each other. It's a phenomenal game to watch, and they've got quite the audience now, which is really cute. So Erik last turn scored 5 points on ambush. He killed something with the unit that came in for deep strike. He killed something with crossfire, and he killed something that was exposed. So big 5 points there. That's how ambush works for them. Obviously, he hasn't scored no prisoners yet. So that's going to be another big one. And then he got 3 points for brood swarm. So again, another really good secondary pump up for him. So that will put him at a grand total of 17 points with our battle ready already primed up. There should be a 4 for brood swarm. My apologies. There we go. That's accurate scores, and that reflects everything going on. So it appears Chris is going for his very clever maneuver of, let me just wrap a truck. And I must admit, I do like this plan. Like, trying to keep your army safe from the GSC shooting is pretty cool. Very ironic that when most people would stare at this matchup, they go, oh, surely the GSC just wrap a Space Marine unit and just try and hide from their shooting, when it's actually in reality the other way around. Alciton, the second unit of Aggressor were the unfortunate victims of a bunch of neophytes popping up. So they got cleared off pretty efficiently by seismic cannons at 3 damage. From what I understand, they might not have even been 3 damage. I think he just shot them with exposed and crossfire, and all the shotguns as well. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this will start playing out. Obviously, Chris isn't going to give up without a fight, so I'm going to switch over to him while it's his turn, and we're going to see how he's walking everyone through it.
Crack this, and he will put his, I know, probably wants to shoot acolytes. Let's just not fail. So I'm going to put 1 melter and a crack grenade in there, and then 2 melters back there. So the crack grenade missed, the melter hit, kills him. You can do that. You're the worst person. Really wish you'd auto-exploded, Erik. Yeah, I really wish you did. 5 left. 5 left. Oh. And there was 2 melters in the other one, 3s, Y4s. So they were cocked. There were 1s, 3s, 1 wound. 4 down to 3. These guys will put melters and plasma pistol, and then grenades and bolt pistols. So melters. Good. Plasma pistol, not supercharging, nothing, and frag grenade. Oop, you're on 6. Yep, you took 1. 3, 4, 5, 6. 2. And then we've got the thing itself into the echoes. Heavy bolter. 2, neg 1. Dingo, 3 shots. And 3s, 1, the neg. That's a little annoying, that would be nice. Then we've got over there. Going to shoot 2 dev squads into 5 echoes in a truck. Do I have to roll that? I don't know. So I'll put the first dev squad, which has. Okay. Just a truck below. So then charges, let's start with the, oh sorry, I might spend a CP for the captain to ignore modifiers the rest of the turn, so ignore the charge modifier. So let's see, we've got you with like a, I think a 5, just in 6. You're pretty far away, so yeah, I'll spend 1 for him to ignore modifiers. Then let's go for the dev anyway. Yes, I'll start with those guys, long bomb into him. No, the chappie. Yeah, what you said. Then the infiltrators will have a go as well. Then the storm will charge them. Easy. Then the captain will charge just the truck, so he's outside 7. So he would need 7, 5 with the fella who's ignoring the -2. 8. So I rolled an 8 on the dice, right? So it becomes 10. We'll go there. These guys will go in as well. 6 becomes 8. Yep, plenty. Not bad. All of them, I don't know. I think it's probably all of them. So I'll make you fight last there. Let's go chaplain. 2s re-rolling. Let's re-roll everything. Hey, 6 extra hits. He'll do a 6-inch consolidate. Then let's go for these guys. Yeah, so dunk. So yeah, we'll go with the hammer. So 3s re-rolling, and then 3s. This again. Assist. 4 extra hits. 3s. 5 damage. Neg 4. No. I was thinking about it, but the aggressors, you ignore AP1 anyway. So he doesn't do anything in combat, does he? Yeah. He what? What? Really? What? So I guess I'll No, I don't want to engage Marines there.
Makes you wet, mate.
What is that? So, Captain, 5 attacks on 2s. Let's reroll and on 6s. It's an unnecessary risk, but hang on, what? Oh, this... Alright. I didn't realize that there was... I can only see him. It doesn't matter. I was thinking I might get shock tactics. No, it's not. Everything's fine, yeah, it's all good.
Alright, so I don't know if anyone heard that on stream, but my god, you need to clip the ever-living crap out of that. That was Chris figuring out what rock grinders do in combat, from what I understand.
Sorry, what?
Sorry.
What?
What? Oh, look, I feel so bad for him, but man, that was funny to be standing right next to that when that happened. But yeah, obviously, one of the other big problems is he didn't knock the Acolyte off that objective. It meant that he can't get shock tactics from it. Or he didn't get shock tactics from it, from what I understand. So, we'll get the scores updated, but, he blew up the transport, actually, which is the big issue. So, 5 more Acolytes came out, that will deny shock tactics, which is a real shame for him. Because it's, again, the secondary that this game is going to hinge on in terms of him scoring as high as he needs to beat Erik. And that is going to also deny, or that is also going to give Erik 8 primary instead of 4. So you're basically talking about another 8-point primary swing. He's already lost one of those this weekend. Couldn't happen to a nicer 40k player. Thank you, Swaldock. Chris is the dog in the house. Fire meme saying everything's fine. Very true. I do want to make a very cool announcement to the chat and everyone watching. Thank you so much. Currently at this point, we just broke the record for the most consecutive viewers at any given point at a Australian Warhammer tournament, which is such a huge achievement. And I thank all of you tuning in over the course of the weekend and everyone who will inevitably be watching this VOD later. It's huge. Thank you so much for helping us grow this brand. Thank you for watching what we put out at all these events. It's truly an absolute pleasure to put it all out there for you. And yeah, we want to keep doing it. So, moving back from the memes and the chaos and the everything, let's see if Chris, I believe, is finishing off his assault phase. So we'll cut back to him for a moment, and then we'll talk about it at the end of the turn.
And on the big squad too. I think I've got 6. So you want us to call it there. You get 100, that's obvious. Yeah, you get 100. And so I'm guessing you're not, because you don't need to push to get 100. Don't you? Can't you just pick something up? Okay, so what are you going to get? Okay. 98. But yeah, you'll get the rest. No worries. But you don't really need to push to do that. Yeah. So I would keep getting 3-0s a turn. I would get some 8s on primaries, some 2s on banners.
All right, and I think we're calling it there. And knowing Chris, that's completely fair. These two know the matchup, and it's really valid to turn around and say, look, Erik, push, and just calculate how many points Chris has got, because both of them, Erik already knew how many points to score as an absolute max without even pushing. And it's safe to say that the game is comfortably over. As we heard, I'm just going to fill in the secondaries and stuff as best I can. Chris is probably going to get 8 primaries for the rest of the game. So he will sit there, and this is turn 3, and he scored 4, 8, scored 2 more 8s. So 28 primary total as far as I'm aware. Banners are going to remain untested. Then we're going to see how many points he gets in shock tactics. So 38 so far, plus another 12 would be 50, 53, 63 so far. And then wait to see how many shock tactics he gets. As for Erik, he is turning around and basically dropping, I believe, 2 points on no prisoners as far as I'm aware. So we'll see 45 primary for Erik very comfortably at this stage. We're also going to see no prisoners go up to 13. I understand a bit more. So clarification on that later. Ambush for 15. So Brood Swarm. Actually, Brood Swarm will ask. Hello. We do have some friends in the studio if they're willing to talk on camera.
That's why we're here.
Excellent. Well, take a seat.
Well, Erik just came in.
Good. Glad you. So we have with me joined in the studio, Chris and Erik. So do you want to? I'll leave the floor to you guys first.
Sorry, are we okay? We should be trying.
You're not.
All right.
I can put us on camera. Erik does not want to be on camera, so we'll comfortably leave it with State. That way we can do some screens.
Like Erik's got stuff.
Alright, so.
Hey, you've already done what you needed.
I might like to assume the game's over.
Yes.
Okay. I saw them walk off and I was like, either.
I had enough.
It's-
I didn't have any models either.
Yeah. So it's safe to say the game was over. I mean, first of all, both congratulations. Obviously, Erik overall, congratulations down the 40K Major. And
Do we know for sure that he's got the win?
we also know that
You were ahead. Yeah.
we also know that the other 5 people count.
Okay.
So you are the only player who can.
Well, Erik, well done.
And Chris, obviously, we've been watching you for more than half of the games at this point. I think it is
Right. 3.
yeah,
Out of
so
6.
3 out of 6. So yeah, half the games. I'm used to. Yeah, look, I know you're calling me out. I'm used to 5 rounds.
Everyone's tight.
Yeah. So half the games, I thought I lost faith for the game, pulled that out. I put some faith in it, but
Interesting. Why did you lose faith?
um,
We don't need to.
yeah, we don't need to talk about that privately. But obviously in this game, you knew this was going to be rough. You knew this was going to be rough in perfect conditions. The perfect conditions are going second with some training.
Yeah. So both of those things going. Yeah. So I tried to leverage back those. They can be really hard. But two problems with that. One is very quite good. Yeah. Which is the most classic thing Erik play, and there'll be one turn like around half forward. Then next turn, if I didn't have 10 infiltrators, it would be the whole board. So Erik did really well there. But he also had really good ways to get. So he had that jackal strat to do the auto 6 demo charges, killed like 4 spikers, so he used that squad. So one of my plays at that stage was and then was able to get some angles down that flank, kill some of my stuff, so get the Sanctus and Rock Runner and all that stuff shooting. And then they were reasonably safe because the Jackals had neutered that staging point. So he did a really good job of moving into a position and sort of sacrificing some Jackals so that he could kill some stuff and stay safe. So he did a really, really good job. Phenomenal play by Erik there. So I didn't feel like I had a lot of options. Yeah, I wish this was a teams event and I could have just sat there and be like, you know what, I'm not going to win, but I won't get absolutely rolled. But this is not a teams event, so I decided I had to push, had to make something happen. It didn't happen. It wasn't it wasn't a great attempt. But yeah. So you know, he got me very convincingly. There was no close about that game. But you know, always good to play Erik, and always good to see him. As I said, that's really masterful play. He makes it all work together.
I must confess, as standing between two, basically the play of Warhammer, and it is nice to occasionally see other people swear it. It does give us all hope that we're not just so. And obviously you've got an enforce, so there is chance.
Oh yeah, this ruins everything. I was 3-0 against Erik, and everyone used to give Erik so much crap that I was beat him. That's ruined now.
In the
Oh
bin,
man.
mate. In the
Oh,
in
in the bin you go.
That's all I had going for me.
it's also pretty funny. For those in the chat, we've been playing State of Origin tonight. Had 3 games with Queensland on stream, and this was the tiebreaker.
Oh,
So not only is his reputation ruined, but so is mine.
I feel so sad.
It's fine. It's not about you. It just means that we get to wallow in misery together. But yeah, obviously going to you, I will also before I get too far ahead, I have to mention the what. With the rock. It's a beautiful moment where I walked out. People were mentioning it on stream where were you talking about how many attacks were trying to get?
No, we're talking about the Sanctus.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I told him when
No, that's not more incredulous than that. I was shocked. And
Yes.
Same to a fight to the demo show? Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So yeah, no, that moment will live a little bit in my mind, at least from a streaming perspective and for me. But another thing I'll announce to you two that's pretty cool is that game broke the stream record in Australia for those who can Warhammer on stream.
Awesome.
So congratulations. Apparently you're both popular enough, know enough people.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good game, but
Well, look.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned that one, but how well his Genestealer Cults guard. So next turn, save that one.
Yeah.
Just such.
Yeah, turns out you're actually not bad at Warhammer.
I played
Yeah, just a few.
smaller one.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, no, honestly, thank you both. Like, even though it wasn't a great technical game, it actually was, because as I've had to spend 2 hours with Sam people, and you make that really hard. So we had to just direct them to what Erik says about his own army. So look, I always love to see innovative lists and stuff, and even the space. I'll give you a it's such a sick list. It's got so many tricks to it. Even just 060. Yep.
That's how if you got to go closer, I could, get hit.
So really,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the list definitely has some variance to it. So you get your double exploding. Thunderhunters are on the FP2 base, 3 installed top. Things definitely go wrong. An annoying amount, but with how cheap
I must confess, as the Drakari player, I'm staring at your 110 squad and my 100 squad. I definitely know which side I'm. But absolute great work. We're gonna tune up very close because I think everything's kind of wrapped up out there. But any more final things you guys want to say? Beforehand?
it's good to
Little.
in the
Well, everything's little to me. Everything's little to Erik, in your face.
fair enough. You don't need a lot of leverage to.
Alright guys, well thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for, especially for you flying down to it's not an insignificant way to spend a weekend. But yeah, absolutely congratulations, and hopefully we'll see you two perform as admirably at UTC.
Sounds good. Yeah, but you'll be supporting the silence, doing the Genestealer Cults. Bit of alien agency. Oh, you're gonna have a big input on it.
Excellent. Alright, well we're gonna probably cut the stream there for a little bit and come back with a little bit of a wrap up in maybe about 5 minutes or so, and hopefully we'll catch you guys then.